This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Here is what they don't want you to know.
Owning a home is the cornerstone of any good financial plan or retirement strategy. I mean, that's the real reason we buy real estate.
You've got to be smarter if you want to be successful. That's what this show is
This is
for.
going to blow your mind. You're going to share this with everyone you know.
I guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else.
If you do nothing else in your lifetime to save for retirement other than own your home free and clear, you're going to be okay.
And now, here's your host, Derek Evans.
Welcome to Smarter San Diego. This is it. This is the place where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Derek Evans here, your host. Today's show is jam-packed with awesome commercial-free content, as we'll first speak with Scott Ryan, our community connection in Scripps Ranch. He'll tell us whether or not this once sought-after neighborhood is losing its luster or just picking up steam. Then we'll speak with Greenwald and Patti Gerke, two of the biggest senior advocates in San Diego, who will tell us about their wonderful project Senior Stay or Go and how you can get the answers you need today. Next, we'll chat with Andrew Paul, former Navy SEAL who has dedicated himself to helping other vets. There won't be a dry eye in the house for that one. Then we'll talk to Ayesha Suneja, a psychology professor who will help us with 3 great ways to deal with stress. Next, we'll speak with James Wittmack, an international consultant that will tell us what entrepreneurs should be doing right now, but aren't. And finally, we'll chat with Billy Colestock and Mark Rawlins. They'll tell us whether the community of Cerro has gone mad. It's all coming up commercial free right here on Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. One of the most popular suburban areas of San Diego County for several decades now has been Scripps Ranch. But how are things going now after all these years? Is it still the desirable community it's always been? Today we asked Scripps Ranch real estate expert Scott Ryan to give us the skinny. Scott, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Derek. Appreciate you having me on.
So tell us what's going on at Scripps Ranch. Now, desirability is usually tied to real estate prices, so I'm sure we can make some conclusions there, but what do you think is happening in Scripps Ranch now?
It's a great community. I mean, as a real estate professional over the past 13 years, I decided to make it my home back in 2006. And I frankly feel that Scripps Ranch is San Diego's best kept secret.
Really?
It's a great community full of families, great environment. It's beautiful, picturesque. And I just think it's a safe haven for people to invest their money.
You know what I've heard about Scripps Ranch, and you can probably confirm or deny this for me, but I've heard it's a huge community. There's a lot of homes there, but it feels small. Is that right?
It does. It really has a small town feel. I mean, when you meet your neighbors, whether you're at the gym or the grocery store or any community events, concerts in the park, that sort of thing, you just know everybody and you see everybody. Everyone's friendly. It's just a great community that supports you, and it's really been an anchor in my life.
Well, let's talk about how desirability is tied to real estate prices and what's happening in the market. When people want to live in an area, then we see prices go higher. Have we been seeing that in Scripps Ranch?
Absolutely. I mean, Scripps Ranch used to be the forefront of real estate development back in the 80s. In fact, I have a lot of neighbors and friends and people that I've talked to that camped out for weeks, months on end to buy these lots in Scripps Ranch. So over the years, we've had a lot of original owners that are still there, but now we're starting to see a lot of young families come in. Some of these generations of families are selling and moving out of Scripps Ranch, downsizing, and a lot of young families are coming in. So with that said, the prices have just acclimated incredibly. So definitely, I would agree with that.
Okay, so prices have gone up. I think there's a sweet spot in every community. What's the sweet spot in Scripps Ranch? In other words, where's the area that is the most desirable and therefore probably the hardest to get into?
Well, a lot of people move to Scripps Ranch because they want to get more house for their money. And the sweet spot that I like to call Scripps Ranch would be between $600,000 and $800,000. Right now, like many other communities in San Diego, we are experiencing a massive shortage of inventory in that price range. Currently under $700,000, there's only 4 homes on the market, and under $800,000, there's 12 homes on the market.
Wow.
It's an incredible shortage.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is. And over this past year, we've had 168 sales in Scripps Ranch total. And of that, the average price is about $793,000, and you can expect to get about a 2,400 square foot house for your money there.
Okay, and that's the average right around 800.
Yeah.
And there's only 12 homes for sale right now in Scripps Ranch under 800.
Yeah, and what makes that problem even more amplified is the median days on market for those homes sold this whole entire year was 12 days on market. So buyers don't have a lot of time to decide if they're looking to buy and they're in that median price point for San Diego, affordable price point for what we call Scripps Ranch, they're going to have to make a decision fairly quickly.
Sounds like sellers kind of have the advantage there then, Scott. If you're a home seller in Scripps Ranch right now, it would be a good time to pull the trigger, huh?
We need those sellers. We need those sellers right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Plenty of buyers lined up. So now you live in Scripps Ranch, your family, your wife, your 3 kids. Is that kind of the normal perfect fit for Scripps Ranch? Is it more of a family community?
There are a lot of families, but there are also a lot of couples. So I'd say it's a good fit. It's an active community. I mean, you have so much to do there. You have Lake Miramar, which is a 5-mile loop around there for jogging and biking. You have the library, you have concerts in the park, you have all kinds of activities. A lot of them are family-based, but I'd say Scripps Ranch is a good fit for anybody who wants to feel safe and is social and wants to know a lot of their neighbors.
Yeah, I tell you, it's interesting because I know you live in Scripps Ranch. You're our Mr. Scripps Ranch. But you kind of cut your teeth in the La Jolla marketplace, and your office is still in La Jolla, right?
It is, and La Jolla is really where, when I first was licensed, that's where my roots started, and I feel very fortunate to have represented many home buyers and sellers in the luxury segment down at the coast. La Jolla, obviously, for good reason, is a wonderful place to live. It's not far from Scripps Ranch, so it allows me to work both markets, and I really enjoy it.
So, and we've got a clip that we're going to show of an amazing property in Bird Rock. So stick around for this clip. You will not believe this house we're going to show you. But tell me how the two connect. In other words, when someone is looking in the La Jolla marketplace, do they ever end up finding their way back to Scripps Ranch?
Over the years, obviously, with the rise in coastal real estate prices, I meet a lot of people at the coast. And maybe they're not from San Diego, maybe they don't understand what's going on at the coast from a real estate perspective. And they ask me, where can I get a sizable home, 3,000 plus square feet? Maybe they have $1 million budget if they're looking for that smaller bungalow at the beach for $1 million. I bring them out to Scripps Ranch and they see the benefits. It's not that far from the coast. There's a lot to offer there, and it's a good secondary option if you can't afford that luxury home at the beach.
All right, so before we see this clip of this amazing property in Bird Rock, tell us a little bit about it.
I feel very fortunate to work with these clients. This home is built by expert builder Pelican Development. It was designed by EOS Architecture in La Jolla. The thought, the planning, the detail in this home it's unsurpassed. I mean, you see a lot of properties that are built these days. You don't see a lot of homes with the quality and the luxury and the detail and the architectural integrity that this home offers. It's located at 5380 Waverly Avenue, just adjacent to the Bird Rock Elementary School, which is a huge selling point.
Yeah, actually adjacent. I mean, they share a property line.
It is. And it's great. We built the property with the idea of capturing the dramatic ocean views to the south and to the west. And I think once you see the clip, you can appreciate just how fine and detailed this home really is.
Okay, great stuff from Scott Ryan. Stick around right now to check out this amazing clip of this cottage in Bird Rock.
Wake up to dramatic ocean views and take in the seaside breeze while you enjoy a cup of coffee on your outdoor covered terrace. Family is an integral part of life in Bird Rock, and this home offers a close proximity to Bird Rock Elementary, one of La Jolla's most coveted schools. This newly constructed residence is the ultimate dream opportunity for your La Jolla lifestyle. The open concept floor plan features a main level with a spacious living room illuminated by 6 skylights beaming with natural light. Savor the gourmet chef's kitchen with a tasteful mix of services including a Carrara marble island, quartz countertops, and a top-of-the-line appliance package. One of the finest features of this home is the spacious master suite, which features a generous walk-in closet and spa-quality master bath with rain-head limestone shower and Kohler soaking tub, a perfect setting to get your day started. The use of indoor-outdoor living areas with voluminous ceilings and ocean view terraces allow this home to live much larger, with plenty of space to entertain friends and family. For the outdoor enthusiast, enjoy a short walk to the popular Calumet Park overlooking the Pacific Ocean and explore the rocky coastline in search of the perfect wave at some of La Jolla's finest surf breaks. On behalf of Scott Ryan and Caldwell Banker Residential Brokerage, I'm pleased to bring you 5380 Waverly Avenue. Immerse yourself in the Bird Rock lifestyle.
Our next guests share a major passion as senior advocates in the community of San Diego. From SeniorStayOrGo.com, please welcome my good friend Ron Greenwald and his business partner Patti Gerke. Welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for having us.
So, Ron, you've been on the radio with me many times before. We're both senior advocates. You have carried this baton for a long time with your team.
Thank you.
Really, really good stuff in the community. What is SeniorStayOrGo.com and why have you created it?
Well, Senior Stay or Go is, first of all, Patty and I are real estate agents here in San Diego, but we created Senior Stay or Go as a free value-added service to our seniors and their families on helping them make decisions on what is the best quality of life housing option for mom or dad. So we educate, we inform, and we give out a lot of referrals to professionals in our industry, in the senior space industry, to really educate mom and dad on what would be the best housing option for them. Should they age in place or should they decide to move to a senior community? And that's what we do.
There's so many different dynamics when we start talking about a family atmosphere, adult children, things that are carried on from when they were children, that are still in play. And then, of course, you have mom or dad, and things might be changing for them, too. So, Ron, what about you? Where does your passion stem from for this?
Well, up until this past weekend, I thought it was, I was very, very close with my grandmother, and she lived to 100. And she was very instrumental in how I respect and the honor that I want to give out to seniors. And then just learning more about there's so many unscrupulous people that are trying to take advantage of our seniors today, that they really need a professional team around them that are going to advocate on their behalf and not on someone's pocketbook behalf. And then, like, on the way here, my dad has taken a turn. My dad's 90 years old and has taken a significant turn for the worst. And the dynamics between him and his wife of 55 years, not my mom, has become a blown-out disaster because he's resentful, she's the caregiver, and it's creating this family dynamics that is just the saddest thing we've ever seen. I mean, they're at each other's throat. And these are a 90-year-old and an 90-year-old man and an 85-year-old woman who have been married 55 years that can't stand each other now because they're in this dynamics of he needs full-time care and she wants to be the caregiver.
Give us an example or two of things that have happened, people who have gone to SeniorStayOrGo.com who didn't know who to turn to. They had, issues with residents, with, care, with, someone, an elderly, could be a mother, a father, a grandparent, or a sister, or anything, and they didn't know what to do, so they called you. They went to SeniorStayOrGo.com. Give us an example of something like that.
Well, probably the best example is one that we had towards the end of last year, beginning of this year, was a woman who had gallbladder surgery just around Thanksgiving time. She has no family in San Diego. She has a nephew in Atlanta, Georgia. He came to visit and saw her in bed in the house in shambles, and she lived in the same home she was living in with her mom and dad, had never been married, so she'd been in the home 45 years. And he called and said, I'm leaving town tomorrow. Can I meet you guys today? We've got to get her out of this house. And by the time we sold her home, just from being there with her, from paying attention to her, from caring about her, from bringing her food so that she could eat properly, she was walking without a walker, has moved to a senior community, and gets angry when the bus leaves before she gets on it to go to the casino. So this is a woman who wouldn't get out of bed in November.
Literally. I mean, we walk in the house. He says, I'm signing the listing documents with you. I'm leaving for Atlanta the next day. Good luck. Here's the key.
Wow.
And we go into, she's lying in bed, and she looks up at us, and she goes, you're not getting me out of this bed. Now try to sell a home with somebody, but because not that we're psychologists or doctors, but we've had to pay attention to this woman.
Socialization is so important.
And by the time, over the next 60 days, because we had people coming into the house, and she had to get up, sit up for that, no walker, makeup, cooking for herself, dressing appropriately, and the biggest thing she wanted to achieve was, when she moved to the senior community, was, I want the place closest to the restaurant, the kitchen, because I love to eat. So that is one of many stories.
Well, you say socialization, and what it really is just attention, right? Being able to conversate. And if maybe you have someone in your neighborhood who is elderly and doesn't get very many visitors, and you kind of know that, knock on the door, say hi, have a quick chat with them. It goes such a long way, because when someone ages and they get kind of distant from their family, they get kind of distant from friends, their friends have died, or
they lose their friends.
They lose their friends. They just need some sort of interaction so that they can feel alive. It's really important.
Super important.
In fact, when I volunteered at what we called back then, Ron, a nursing home. That's what it was called, which is a bad term, but that's what we called it in the mid-90s in Missouri.
He's so young. It's killing me.
Does it feel like yesterday?
Yeah.
That's exactly what they wanted me to do. They said, just go from room to room and talk to people for 10, 15 minutes. If you could do that, you will change this place. And it was true. Within a month, maybe 6 weeks tops, it was different. People knew I was coming. They had stuff ready for me. They say, oh, yeah, I got this stuff out to show you, and I wanted to tell you this story. And they were so excited about it. So those little things like that we forget about, these are the types of things that Ron and Patti are working to help people understand, so that we can ultimately advocate on behalf of these seniors, because hopefully, right, we will all be in that position one day.
Well, not hopefully, we all will be.
Well, hopefully, because the alternative is no
right. One way or the other.
When it comes down to it, I love what you guys have done. You've made yourselves available. You've basically said, hey, listen, there's no place to go with this information. There's no one to contact there's no government agency that's going to give you the type of hand-holding that you need in these situations, or the type of direction, or the type of experience. So if you are dealing with a situation like this, whether it's a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, who's trying to figure out, is it safe for me to live in this home anymore? Is there a way that I could safely live in this home? Or should I look at some of the other options, some of the different communities that are out there? Or you have an issue in that realm anywhere. Patti and Ron have made themselves available to help you. Go to seniorstayorgo.com, or call the number you see right there, seniorstayorgo.com, and they will help you out for free. You guys are providing an amazing service.
We thank you for letting us air our story.
No, absolutely, and I hope we get to do it again, because frankly, this is something that's needed in the community, and it's not going away. The problem is getting worse. It's not getting better. We need more people like you. We need more people like you to get involved. SeniorStayOrGo.com. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. You're in the mortgage industry. You help a lot of veterans. That's your passion, is helping veterans out. I've heard you say that you're the best damn VA lender in the country.
Right, I believe that.
I'm going to give you a chance to back that up right now.
So, as a veteran, I am deeply passionate about serving my fellow veterans, and I am fiercely protective of my fellow veterans. I take the same attention to detail, hard work, and work ethic that it took to become a Navy SEAL. And I've applied that to the mortgage business. I know VA guidelines better than anybody else. I actually read the book. 90% of my business is VA loans. Most lenders do an occasional VA loan, like maybe out of 10 loans that they do 1 or 2. It's the complete opposite for me. Out of 10 loans, 8 or 9 of them are VA loans. So I just simply do more, have a lot more experience about it. I am passionate about serving my fellow veterans, fiercely protective. I mean, I fought for my veterans, my fellow veterans on the battlefield. I take the same mindset and approach when I fight for, look after, and protect my fellow veterans when doing a VA loan. Sounds a little bit corny, but that's how I get fired up and passionate about what my job is today.
And when you talk about that, that's something I imagine that you're helping a lot of those veterans with, because they've gone through the same things you've gone through. And it's such a shift in mindset from jumping out of planes and shooting guns and blowing stuff up to sitting behind the desk every day.
Right.
And I imagine that you go from such an exciting, heart pumping, passion of this physical activity to sitting behind the desk. And a lot of these veterans are doing the same thing. They're coming back, and some of them may not even have a desk to sit behind.
Right.
So I imagine that you end up in some long conversations and become somewhat of a counselor. Am I right, for some of these people?
Absolutely. That's where I really, for me, again, doing the mortgages is like paperwork that's, death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's, that's not fun. What's fun is when I get to connect with another veteran, when I get to really help them understand a mortgage. I think a lot of people, when they buy a house, whether it's first, second, or third time, I mean, I have had people come into my office. This is the second or third house that they're buying, first time they've been working with me, and they leave my office saying, wow, nobody ever explained that to me like that. I never knew that. See, I think a lot of people go through the mortgage process, and they go, well, I think I understand what's going on. Okay, sounds good, and they kind of sign the paperwork, and they're like, yeah, but they don't really know. And my goal is that I meet with as many of my clients as I possibly can, and I spend an hour to an hour and a half, and I walk them through every aspect of the loan. When they leave my office, they really understand how interest rates work, where the closing costs are coming from, what their choices are in an interest rate, what the advantages or disadvantages of going with one rate or versus the other, what the challenges are. I don't oversell anything. I want my folks to feel informed and walking out like they're making an informed decision about the mortgage process. Not, well, I think he's doing all right by us. That's not good enough for me.
And you take it a step further as well by kind of sharing your experience and helping some people who may be on that same sort of path of trying to figure out, how do I get excited every day?
Right.
Now that I don't have my camouflage on anymore.
Right.
And I don't have this great sense of purpose.
Right.
That I once had, where I felt like I was carrying a whole nation on my shoulders along with my fellow soldiers. Mm-hmm. And now I'm an accountant, or
right.
Working as a bartender, or whatever it may be that they're doing. And that's got to be a really important piece of the puzzle, because we continue to have problems with vets coming home. I'm glad that there are companies out there now who are going out of their way to hire veterans. Starbucks is one of them. There's others out there. Mm-hmm. And that's great. But that doesn't fix the problem that you're talking about. Somehow you figured it out. You figured out how to get passionate and get behind what you were doing here once you had left your duty to the country behind. And I think that is something that you can really share and help change lives with.
This is a topic I'm very passionate about, Derek. Here's what happens. I went through I think all veterans go through a transition struggle at one level or another. So for me, I left something that I wanted to do my whole life. I accomplished that goal, passionate, super fun, exciting, and left active duty. I didn't really want to, but I had 2 kids born on back-to-back deployments. I had to make a tough choice to spend time with my young children. So you leave something that you feel very strongly about, that you can be very proud of, and then a steady 2-week paycheck, the camaraderie, the brotherhood of your fellow soldiers, sailors, Marines, and then you find yourself in the civilian sector, a very different kind of a mindset, frankly, a very different work ethic, different expectations. I mean, people have a hard time showing up to work on time, and that's just not acceptable in the military. And in the military, we have ways of handling that aren't acceptable in the workplace. Okay? So you get out and you've got to learn a new skill set. You've got to learn a new way to interact with people and to kind of have patience with people who don't have that kind of a mindset that you've come accustomed to. You've got to reinvent yourself. You've got to find a new purpose, a new passion, a new skill set, and that's hard. And now compound that potentially with maybe some post-traumatic stress. We're dropping the D off of that word now, because post-traumatic stress actually is a healthy reaction to an unhealthy situation.
Right.
But a lot of guys come back with post-traumatic stress, guys and gals. And so how do you make that transition? And it hasn't been easy. You made the comment, well, Andrew, you seem to have done that. But let me tell you, there's been hard times. I went through a divorce. I lost my house to foreclosure. I'm in the mortgage business. I mean, imagine that. Imagine how I felt about that. I'm in a new business, trying to build new clients in 2007. I'm brand new to the business, losing my house to foreclosure, going through a divorce, got my kids half the time. I'm Mr. Mom the other half the time. It was hard, going through some emotional things. I lost friends, close friends who were killed on deployment, dealing with that emotionally, trying to build a business. A transition can be very, very, very hard. It's why we have a lot of veterans who are taking their own lives, and it doesn't have to be that way. There are veterans out there who are going through a hard time. You know, I get emotional about this because you got to know that there's another option, and you got to reach out to your fellow brothers and sisters, man. It's not easy, but we've all gone through that at some level. You can't do it alone. You've got to reach out, and you know what? Reach out to me. I don't care. I'm greatly on the other side of a big chasm that was hard to cross, but you can get through it, and there is a great opportunity in life after the military. Sometimes it's hard to even see that. What's the point, So I'm very passionate about helping my fellow veterans, not just the ones who are on active duty and helping them have a smooth mortgage experience while they're dealing with workups and deployments and one spouse is gone or home or whatever, but also help my veterans who are going through a challenging time trying to reinvent themselves and find a new place in the world after the military.
It's former Navy SEAL Andrew Paul in studio with us right now here on Smarter San Diego. And, Andrew, you've expressed your passion for your fellow vets in a number of different ways throughout the years, and your passion for this country. I would love to know what your thoughts are on that just in general. You're raising 2 boys, right?
Right.
You're raising 2 boys in America that you helped protect and served so righteously. I mean, what do you think about the state of this country? Is there anything that because protecting freedom means a lot of things. It means,
sure.
Freedom for people to burn the flag,
right?
Freedom for people to curse the military, and there's
sure.
and there's organizations that do that, and it's hard for me, based on my beliefs, to think that that's okay, but that's part of what you protected. How do you feel about the current state of this country that you served?
We're always going to have challenges in this country. America is still the greatest nation on earth, and I believe that, and I don't feel ashamed by that, and neither should anybody else. You should be proud to be an American. There's nothing wrong with being proud of America and saying this is the greatest country. It doesn't mean that Great Britain isn't a great country. It doesn't mean that Greece isn't a great country. They've got some debt issues. But it's not to say that we look down on it. I believe America is a great country, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have our challenges too. Freedom means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and that's part of the definition of freedom. Freedom to burn the American flag. Here's the deal. In my opinion, you have the right and the freedom to burn the American flag. You're a jerk for burning the flag. I find it extremely disrespectful.
It's offensive.
It's very offensive to me. But because I believe so deeply in freedom, I'm willing to set my personal feelings aside and honor your right to be an idiot. Okay? Here's the deal. I expect the same respect in return as well. Sure. It's interesting. We're in interesting times. I think we're always in interesting times. In 1800, they were in interesting times.
Sure were.
Right. So, America is a great nation, and I've heard this said before, and I firmly believe this. America is an anvil that's worn out many a hammer, and we'll wear out any hammer that comes our way, whatever it is, whatever it looks like. We'll wear that hammer out too.
That's awesome. Great stuff from former Navy SEAL Andrew Paul from Benchmark Mortgage. If you're looking to get a VA loan, he's the guy to call. Best damn VA lender in the country. Andrew Paul, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Really appreciate your time.
All right.
That's it for this edition of Smarter San Diego. Stick around for more commercial-free content where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Listen, we all get caught up being too busy sometimes to enjoy the finer things in life. However, this distraction from the present moment can take on a life of its own, to the point where we experience stress. Our next guest is a PhD clinical psychology researcher, certified clinical hypnotherapist, psychology professor, and spiritual leader here in San Diego. She's here to give us 3 ways to deal with stress.
Please welcome one of my favorite people on this planet. Ayesha Suneja is here. Ayesha, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Derek. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for
and
having
being on the
me.
show. This is a really hot topic.
Yeah.
Everyone's experiencing stress. It seems like we're getting more and more stressed out as a society. Once you start to just take a look at what's going on, you see people stressed out everywhere you go.
Absolutely.
How do you suggest that we deal with this?
So we know that stress is a part of life, right? There's no escaping it. So you're right. It's not just about what is it about stress, but how do we deal with it? That's the most important thing. So we've got 3 things we're going to talk about today. One is the breath. I know that's a favorite topic of yours, something that you practice quite regularly.
Absolutely.
We're also going to talk about this whole present moment awareness with the breath. And then we're going to look at some other things like perfectionism, this idea of things having to be perfect, and also cognitive distortions, believing our thoughts or actually questioning our thoughts or challenging our thoughts. There's a couple of different ways, 3 different ways that we can look at how to manage stress and have a better, healthier lifestyle.
You know, you say breath, and I think people go, breathe. Oh yeah, it makes sense. Take a deep breath. You hear people say that sometimes. Hey, take a deep breath. You know, but we don't do it very much.
We don't.
We don't do it enough. Let's
True.
put it that way. So how do you suggest that someone who maybe experiences stress a lot, has a stressful job or a stressful existence for whatever reason, how can they use the breath to help them sort of separate from that anxiety?
Well, the breath, first of all, let's look at why it's so important to breathe, deeply breathe from the diaphragm. We know that deeply breathing reduces stress levels. It actually increases our vibrational frequency. It brings down our blood pressure. We know it increases or strengthens our immune system. So there's a lot of benefits of breathing very deeply. So a lot of times we're breathing very shallow from our chest instead of breathing from our diaphragm. So the point here is that we want to take even 15 minutes a day. Research shows that 15 minutes a day of deep breathing can actually provide us with those health benefits that we're looking for and bring down stress levels. So the way that I look at breath is, think of your meditation practice, right? Meditation helps you to relax, bring down stress, but you can't meditate everywhere, or you can't meditate all the time. But the breath is a great way for you to get into that meditative state. So let's say this morning you were coming to the studio, you used your car as a vehicle to come to the studio. If we want to get to that meditative state, that state within us that already exists, is that part of us that's zen or centered or grounded, what we would call our higher self, the part of us that has infinite wisdom, the part of us that's already knows all the answers. If we want to get to that state, we use the breath as a vehicle to get there.
Interesting. I'm using my breath as a vehicle while you're talking, just listening to your voice, and it's getting me there. Taking those deep breaths and just consciously doing it, I think, is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely.
As we're all breathing all day.
All day.
Yeah, that's an autonomic thing. But when we're talking about breath in this particular circumstance, you're saying breathe with your diaphragm. You're saying you want to breathe deeply.
Right.
So consciously take a deep breath until you can't take a breath anymore.
Right.
Breathe in all the way until you've maxed it out,
Yeah.
and then just slowly sort of release that. Just
exactly.
doing that 2-3 times consecutively can change your mood like this.
It can.
So imagine, spending 10 or 15 minutes a day doing something like that. It really can lower your stress levels. I practice it personally, and it works extremely well. And the more you can do it, I think the better.
Absolutely.
Personally, and of course the Buddhists believe that you can do it constantly, no matter what you're doing. I haven't figured that out yet, but I'm trying. But the other thing that you mentioned when we were talking about this was, and I think this is extremely powerful, is to question your thoughts.
Right.
Explain what you mean by that.
Well, questioning your thoughts, there's a saying that one of the most dangerous things in the world is an unquestioned thought. So how often do we think that our thoughts are facts, and how often do we think that the fact is reality? And in fact, we could be having thoughts, if we don't question them regularly enough, we could be having thoughts that are distorted. And by distorted thoughts, there's plenty of distorted thoughts. I'll give you a few examples. Overgeneralization. Let's say I'm late for work, and then I start to think, because I'm late, I might, get in trouble, or I might get fired. And then if I get fired, I might lose my apartment. And there, can you see where I'm going with this? I start to overgeneralize. Even something like catastrophizing, making something bigger than it is. Black and white thinking, that's a cognitive distortion. I'm perfect or I'm a failure, and there's nothing in between. So when we have a distorted thought, the 3 quickest ways to think about, is this a thought that is healthy or distorted, is these 3 simple things that I use. Is my thought accurate? Is it healthy? And is it helpful? So when I'm feeling stressed, is my thought accurate? Meaning that...
Let me write this down.
Sure.
Accurate.
Accurate. healthy, and helpful.
That's beautiful.
So I'm stressing about getting a job. And if I'm stressing, is that thought accurate? Meaning that if I stress about the job, will I get the job? Just stressing or worrying about it, will that help me? That thought is not accurate. It's not going to make a difference one way or the other. In fact, it might actually not help me as much as if I didn't stress. It might hurt me, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not accurate. Is it healthy? Is it helping my body? Is it actually helping my immune system? Is it strengthening my body? Or is it actually adding to all kinds of health issues that I could be having because of stressing out so much? So is it healthy? If it's not healthy, and then last one, is it helpful? Will I actually get that job faster if I think or stress?
You know, and I think something that we should put in there, which is also really important to consider when you're questioning your thoughts, is do I know that I'm right?
Right, that's a good
Because
one.
so many times we think that we know what the ideal situation is. In other words, someone got in front of me, they're driving very slowly, they're causing me to be late, and we think that that's bad because we feel like we should be there sooner or faster, but we don't know, maybe that could be helping us in some way. Maybe it could be keeping us from getting into a car accident or something like that.
That's a great point.
So we all, am I necessarily correct?
Absolutely.
Do we know that we are correct? And if we look at the thoughts that we're having sometimes when that arises, we'll find that we don't know. We've made huge assumptions that what we think is actually the best possible outcome for us.
Right.
So I think that goes right along line with just questioning your thoughts is it accurate? And I would go another step and say, do I know for sure that it's accurate? Because a lot of the times we won't. And that right there will take so much stress off of you immediately when you realize, hey, I'm not right all the time.
Absolutely.
You mean I don't have all the answers? This is not 100% all me?
Right. And
it's
there's
not.
a natural flow to the universe, right? There's a natural flow to things. When we are actually more in tune with the natural flow, things work out a little bit better than when we get in our own way.
Right. And even if they don't, they seem like they do because we're not in the way of it.
Exactly.
Another thing that was big on here for me to look at is embracing our own mistakes.
Right.
Embracing our own flaws, for example. You've told me that when people are stressed, a lot of times it's because they haven't embraced these things and they're really deeply involved in self-judgment. How do we get out of something like that if it's stressing us out?
Right. So perfectionism, I think that's the big buzzword right now that people want. And I'm guilty of this. I think I'm guilty of all these things, which is why I can talk about them. This idea of I have to be perfect, I have to look perfect, I have to, be a perfect mom, be the perfect wife, be the perfect whatever. So when you look at this perfectionism, I wanted to differentiate, first of all, healthy striving and perfectionism, because we also don't want to say that, striving or having goals is a bad thing. So healthy striving is a very internal state. It's about myself. It is my own self-improvement. It's saying, I'd like to improve, I'd like to grow, I'd like to evolve, I'd like to get better. And perfectionism is external, and it's about other people. What will they think of me? How will I look to them? How will I be judged or criticized or evaluated? So let's look at the two different things here. Healthy striving is something that we want. Perfectionism, however, is not, because research shows that perfectionism does not lead to success. We would think that people that want to be perfect, they want to be perfect to be successful or happy. It actually leads to depression, anxiety, and addictions.
It's very prohibitive because if everything needs to be perfect, it never will be.
It never will be.
So that'll keep you from moving forward. I see that a lot, actually, in my day. And I always tell people that if you're worried about what other people think about you, you're just judging yourself through them.
Absolutely.
And that's all you're doing. And so if you recognize that it's just a self-judgment and it's really not what they think that matters, then I think that helps you sort of kind of come to the reality that, hey, this is about me. This is me and what I'm doing to me and not what they're doing to me.
Absolutely.
Which is huge when we're talking about stress.
Right.
Oh, great stuff. Ayesha Suneja, thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate your time. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, commercial free, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Our next guest is a master strategist. He's been consulting for companies all over the world, and I've asked him here today to discuss the top 3 things entrepreneurs aren't doing but should be. Please welcome to the program, Mr. James Wittmack. James, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Derek, and yourself?
Great to have you here, and a very important topic. A lot of people own their own businesses here in San Diego and Southern California, really in general.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people put all their eggs, all their money, into one business basket and really lose it all.
Exactly.
So I think this is a really important topic. So tell us, what's the number one or the top thing that entrepreneurs should be doing that they aren't right now?
Well, the main thing entrepreneurs do is try to run their business too long on their own money and not getting money from outside sources. Their feeling is they want to do that because they don't want to lose control of the company. So they try to be king instead of rich. So by being king, they're using all their own money. They use their family, friends, and in the investment industry, we call them fools' money. And that fool's money goes away, and then they've lost their relationships with all their relatives, friends, and the fools.
So you say that they try to be king
Yes.
instead of being rich, meaning
Correct.
they want the control.
Well, when you start a business, you start it because you found something people are willing to pay you money for. Everybody starts calling you, and you become the most important person in the company. The problem with that is you get a superficial experience of success, and you start to think of yourself as king instead of focusing on what it's going to take to become wealthy.
So you think it's funding then is something that, even if an organization doesn't need it, for example, let's say a business doesn't need funding, let's say they're cash flowing just fine, they have enough reserves, they're not hurting, you still think they should seek for funding?
They should seek for funding then more than any other time. The best time to get funding is when you don't need it. That's when you can qualify for it. That's when you qualify for it. So
The best time to get funding is when you don't need it.
Exactly.
That's really good advice.
Yep.
So in that situation, you're saying that the VCs out there, angel capital guys or investors just in general, would be a lot more apt to put their money into something when it's doing well.
Correct. Think of it if you were investing in something. Do you want to invest in a company that's not making money or a company that's successful?
You know, I lived in downtown for years, James, and we would see these shop owners come in. You know, they'd be there for a year. We'd talk to them. We'd get to know them. We'd find out that they literally have everything into this shop, and then one day, everything's gone.
Exactly. I'll often be brought in by people who are helping them get funding that are concerned that they might run out of business before they get more funding, and then the funding people are going to lose their money.
Right.
And often I'll come in and have a, for lack of a better phrase, come to Jesus meeting with them. And so say, okay, here's where we are. Here's where you want to be. This is how much it's going to take to get there. If you got that, and where's that coming from?
We call that the CTJ, by the way.
Okay. That's a nice acronym.
Well, you know, that meeting needs to happen a lot. You know,
Yes,
it really
it does.
in business. Frankly, if you're a business owner, you should be having meetings like that on a regular basis.
You should.
With employees, clients,
Yep.
frankly, in some cases, vendors, and anyone that you're using in your business. So the CTJ meeting is an important one to be ready and willing to have that meeting if
Yes.
you're a business owner.
Yes.
What about a plan, James? I mean, if it's as far as like, you know, a business plan. You know, everyone says, oh, I got to have a business plan, or, you know, I'm going to start this business. Here's my business plan. That's all I need is a business plan. How important is the plan, first of all, and should everybody have one?
Well, it's not important at all if you don't want to go anywhere. If you want to go somewhere and be successful, there's no other way to get there. If you and a friend or somebody calls you over and says, can you come pick me up? What do you want to know? Where are you? And if they're at a place you haven't been before, what do you need to do? You need to set your GPS or check the map and find out how to get there.
Right.
Often entrepreneurs start their business. They find customers that are willing to buy it, and they don't really plan for a future. They're excited about all this activity that's going on. And over time, they find that they stop growing. And when they stop growing, it's because they didn't put a plan in the first place. The plan will give you controls and measurables so you can make adjustments along the way. If this is happening, you got to do this. If that's happening, you got to do this. And they need to stay on top of the financial part of the newspaper and news so they can predict what's going to happen in the future so they aren't making a product that's going to be obsolete in 6 months. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, under two very well-known acronyms. The OSWA system. Oh, shucks, we're out. When they need funding, They find out, well, now they need money and they don't have it. And the other is swag. Systematic, wild-ass guess. And that's kind of how they're running their company. And without a plan, that's how it is, and the stress level is extreme.
Right.
It's very extreme. A lot of people become alcoholics, lose their relationship with their family and with their spouse, and in some cases end up doing away with themselves because of the stress level. Their wife will be at the store and trying to buy groceries, and the credit card doesn't clear. She'll try another credit card. That doesn't clear. She calls the owner, or could be reversed. He calls the owner and says, honey, my card's not clearing. And they have to admit at that time they've been paying the mortgage on a credit card.
Right.
And now there's no way out.
And by then it's too late.
It's way too late. And if they'd gotten a plan and funding in place first, that would have never happened. And if they saw it on the horizon, they could have avoided it long before it came to fruition.
Let's close these two together, because we're talking about the top 3 things entrepreneurs should be doing, but they aren't right now.
Right.
Creating a plan, getting funding.
Yep.
Are those two tied together? In other words, you need to have a plan to get funding, right? I mean, no one's going to give you money without being able to see what the plan is.
Anybody who wants money is going to be asked to see investor is going to want to see how they're going to get paid back.
Right.
And how they get paid back is in that plan, regardless of who it is. Even a friend or a relative, they should still ask for a plan and see the strategy to pay them back. And it should be handled according to that strategy, not good faith.
Okay, so create a business plan so that you can get good funding.
Exactly.
And number 3, what's number 3?
Well, just back on that for a second, the plan will tell you how much funding you need.
Okay.
You just don't get funding and say, hey, I need some money. Hopefully that'll be enough.
How much money can I get?
And investors is very critical for investors. They don't want to underfund a company. Too many people are asking for too little money. They'd rather give you more money to assure your success than not enough and have you struggle. But the third thing is really the first thing, and that's the Omega principle, beginning with the end in mind. How are you going to exit the company? How you exit the company determines how your plan is being built and where the money's coming from. If it's going to be initial public offering, if it's going to be venture capital, if it's going to be angels, if it's going to be an asset lender like a bank. There's a lot of hard money lenders out there. There's a lot of credit lenders out there. There's all kinds of sources for money for people in different types of situations. But your exit determines how that's going to come to fruition. And you can exit a few different ways. You can exit by selling to your employees. That's a strategy. Selling to relatives. That's a strategy. Or going public. That's another strategy. And each way, your infrastructure has to be built to accommodate that exit strategy. Often, I'll be brought in and companies want to exit. Owners who've had their business 30 to 40 years want to exit. But they've been building their company towards the wrong strategy.
Right. They haven't built out an exit strategy into
Correct.
the plan, and so now they have to create a new plan and start working towards that exit, where their timing might not be the same by the time they get there. Fantastic stuff from master strategist James Wittmack. James, thank you so much for being here today.
My
Really
pleasure.
appreciate
Thank you.
it. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Is Del Cerro going mad? Here to give us the skinny, please welcome our Del Cerro community connection and real estate expert Billy Colestock alongside neighborhood activist Mark Rawlins. Fellas, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having us. I'm really excited today to have Mark Rawlins come into the studio and talk to you about the Maintenance Assessment District. Mark's been with the community, activist in the community for 15 years, currently sits as the president of the Del Cerro Action Council, and can tell you everything about the MAD. He's been working on this almost for 10 years now.
Yeah. Mark, what is MAD?
MAD it's called a Maintenance Assessment District. That concept was established by state law back in the 1970s. And basically what it is, it allows a community to assess itself above and beyond the current taxes that they pay for their maintenance to improve their community.
So is it an additional tax? In other words, the city normally takes care of this type of stuff, right? You know, the city handles all those things. They tax you, and then they take the money, and then they take care of those items. Under MAD, is it an additional tax to that?
Yeah, so the city right now is supposed to spend X amount of dollars on your medians, open space, your parks. But what they end up doing is go out and get a contractor and get the lowest bid, and they do the minimum. So Del Cerro is an example where it's built in 1957, an older community, a very nice, well-established community, but it looks tired. But the city maintains and does the basic maintenance of it. Under a maintenance assessment district, we, the community of Del Cerro, would assess ourselves. That money would go into the pot along with what the city is supposed to pay into that pot. It goes into a line item on the city budget where all that money stays in Del Cerro, and we use it to beautify our community. That's the medians, open space, the parks. What we're trying to do in Del Cerro is try to mimic the model of Terrasana. Terrasana has had one since the 70s. And if you want to take a look how their beautification is in their community, that's what we want to do for Del Cerro.
And aren't the newer communities that are being built, aren't they all set up this way?
Yeah, so if you go up to 5 or up to 15, you'll see like Scripps Ranch, Penasquitas, and any of those communities, they all have maintenance assessment districts. And what happens is now the contractor puts it in place, they build the homes, people move into it. Older communities, we have to get a petition. 30% of the people need to sign, 30% of the property owners need to sign the petition in order for us to take them from the city council. They vote on agreeing to put it to a ballot, we vote, and then we establish it that way.
And what if someone's watching this right now who lives in Del Cerro who says, hey, I haven't heard about this yet, sounds good to me, how do I participate? How do they get involved?
So right now, I guess the biggest thing is we haven't put everything out yet, but if you went to the Del Cerro Action Council webpage, you get information there. The other way is to call me directly at 619-888-9140. If you want to get involved, I definitely will take volunteers to make our community a beautiful place.
What's that going to take? What is it going to take? What are you going to have to accomplish in order to get this MAD through?
So right now in Del Cerro, there's approximately 2,700 homes or property owners. So I need at least a third of the community to sign a petition. And that's roughly about 800 signatures.
Okay.
So we need people to go out, go door to door, and get those signatures collected. Once we collect those signatures, then the city will do an assessment. And what they'll do is they'll do an assessment on all the medians and park spaces and actually calculate what the money they're supposed to be paying in our community, one. And then secondly, the things that we want to do, what they think that cost would be, that special benefit, the added costs would be for the community. And then from there, they'll put together a ballot, and it'll be a mail-in ballot. And then it's a 45-day open period where you get the ballot and you have 45 days to respond. And then it's a 50 plus 1%. If it's in favor, it gets in place.
The cost isn't a lot. Now, do I understand it that the city goes in and makes the assessment based on what the cost of it would be?
Right. So right now, so here's the thing. When you have, there's the petition that goes around. Right now we're asking, we think per home, it'll be anywhere between $7.50 to $10.50 a month. So that's $90 to $126 a year is what we're asking to assess. Now, some people may think that's high. I kind of think it might be a little high up front, but here's the key. Most of the other MADs are about there or lower. For us, the reason why we have that kind of a range is we have to put the infrastructure in place. We have to have, we want to put in drought-resistant plants. We want to upgrade our irrigation so it meets those needs, get the drip systems in place. All that takes upfront costs. Once that upfront cost is done, then really all it is just maintaining that.
Am I the only one who thinks $100 a year is like nothing for something like that?
For the benefits in the community, I don't think that that's a lot of money.
Can we talk about those, Billy? Just in case anyone's scoffing at the $100 a year.
Sure.
What would the benefits be to businesses, homeowners, real estate values? What would that look like?
Over my opinion of this is over a long-term period, it's going to stabilize the community. It's not going to create drastic increases, but it's going to prevent drastic decreases. If you have folks who have pride in their community, who come home every day and they see the entire community as a beautiful place to come home to, they're going to take better care of their own property. And then in turn, property values are going to stay consistent and go up.
Yeah, I tell you, it's funny because it used to be known as East County or something like that.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I drove there yesterday, and it's actually from Del Mar. It wasn't very far at all.
Not at all.
In fact, as soon as you get on the 8, it's like boom, you're there, Waring Road, and you know. So I think that that's one thing that Del Cerro really has going for it. And here's my understanding of what the community would get from something like this, or what a community like Del Cerro would get for something like this, is sort of you put a floor in. Right, you keep it from deteriorating because that's what you're doing. It may not be a spike in equity like Billy said, but you're going to keep it from deteriorating. So maintaining that, keeping things the way they are sometimes is just as good as making things better, because ultimately, whether you're a homeowner or a business, you want it to be nice. You know, nice places stay nice, right? And when things deteriorate, that's when things can go south. So I think if I was a homeowner in Del Cerro, for $100 a year, Mark, sign me up. Where's the petition? I'll sign it right now.
It's
you know
not.
what I mean?
It's not. I'm right there with you. I mean, it's the cost to the benefit is so
It's a
insignificant.
Starbucks coffee, you know.
Right.
I can't do without my Starbucks coffee.
So, Billy, speaking of Del Cerro and the real estate market, tell us what's kind of been going on, because the market in San Diego has been super, super hot over the course of the last 4 or 5 years. How does that compare with what's happening in Del Cerro?
Well, Del Cerro is no different. Right now, we are in a hot market. We've got 66 properties on the market right now, active. That's between condos and single-family residences. We have a 25-day days on market. Wow. And selling at 98% list to sales price.
And what's approximately the average price range?
If you exclude condos, we're going to be in low 600s.
So low 600s in 25 days on average.
Right.
Wow.
At 98% list to sale price.
That's crazy.
So it's a phenomenal market. We've had in the last 90 days 114 homes sell. So that equates to about a little less than a 2-month supply of inventory.
Oh man, that's
so
nuts.
Inventory's low, selling quickly, and you're getting the price that you're asking if you put it at a reasonable rate.
So let me ask you this. If Del Cerro were to get the MAD through, let's say in July 2016, which is the next possible time that it could happen, right? Would it be wise to sell your home prior to that happening, or would it be better to sell afterwards, or is it not going to make that big a difference?
I don't think initially it would make that big of a difference, yet at the same time it's a definite selling point. If it's coming, then you're selling the fact that this community is coming, or is going to be enhanced, and this action is coming. After it happens, you're going to be selling that, hey, we just had this in place, and this is only going to secure your equity, your value of your home.
Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate your time today. Mark Rawlins, Billy Colestock, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for watching Smarter San Diego TV, commercial free right here on Channel 4. Go to smartersandiego.com for more information and more commercial free content. See you then. Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
I would love to help you out. There's waves right now. I gotta go. Will, you still pursuing hoop dreams?
Yeah! That's what's up.
Nikki, are you making something beautiful around here again?
Yeah, Will, look at this. We did this. We did all of this.